Sound at Home. Today we will be continuing with our chapter, lesson number 2 of history, in which we studied the first part. We saw different concepts in that. We saw about the archaeologists, historians and anthropologists. Then we studied about Paleolithic age, that is the Stone Age, where the primitive man used tools or implements made of stone and then tools made of wood and many other concepts in that part. And we saw how the journey of primitive man started in the ancient ages and will reach the settled life. So students, journey of primitive man, settled life, as the name of chapter goes, we'll just continue with the part which is, we'll just continue with the next part, that is archaeological places. Okay students, now we saw the meaning of archaeologist, a person who digs out the remains from the earth, from beneath the earth, to study about the ancient era or about the ancient human being, about the primitive man. So, places related to archaeology, that is in the ancient ages, in different stages of human life of the primitive man, which all places were found out by archaeologists. On your screen you can see the map in which some places are marked. Look carefully at the places marked in the map. Okay? Now students, just see the map on your screen. What can you see there students? The places marked are in Angam, Kurnool caves, then you have your Mehergarh, Kolkata, different places are marked. You see, Bhimbetka, many places marked here are with different colors. The red triangle, that is a Paleolithic place, that is which place students? We saw Stone Age, okay? Then the blue color square, Neolithic place, Chalcolithic place, initial age and modern city. In your syllabus you only have the Paleolithic place, okay students? So, Paleolithic age means stone implements or tools were used. So, Paleolithic places means the ones marked in the red arrow. Which are they? The different places we just saw. Okay, the Kurnool caves, then Bhimbetka, such other examples. So, these different places are in the map showing us that the primitive man might have lived in these places in the ancient ages. And there are evidences that they had their habitats. Friends, we already saw habitat means what? Habitat means area of dwelling, area where they live. Okay, in good and large places where stones, wood and water were found. Why did they need stones, wood? Why did they need all these things? To make their tools or implements. For different purposes like hunting of animals, they needed to peel off the skin of the animals, then to peel off the branches or to cut the branches of trees and to peel off the branches of trees, then to take out the outer skin layer of the trees on the trunks. All these things they wanted the tools or implements. So then they needed water. Water is very essential. Water is very essential for our survival. So all these things they searched. And they preferred to stay in such places where they found these things in plenty. Stones, wood and water. Food, so you know students, they hunted animals and ate raw things from the trees or plants, that is fruits or roots. So, these three things they searched and roamed or wandered in different places. And due to that, several such places have been found in Vindhya mountains in central India. One example is Vindhya mountains in central India. Okay students, where are these Vindhya mountains situated? In central India. After Vindhya mountains, you can find them in such types of places where they are finding lots of water, abundant water, plenty of stones and wood. Then you can see the example of places around the Narmada river. Okay. Then you have example places around Narmada river. We also stayed there. These are the remains found by archaeologists. Okay. Then example is given for Bhimbetka, that is in Madhya Pradesh. Bhimbetka. So these are the different areas where people or primitive men lived. They found out these places to be excellent places of habitat, of living. Why? Because they found these three things in abundance. Food, water, wood and stones. Now we can also see that in the caves of Bhimbetka, about 500 images of birds, deer, then wooden sphere, trees, then humans, etc. are drawn by the primitive man. That is, they used to draw on the caves, walls of the caves. That means what? They must have drawn that with the help of natural colors. So you can see that primitive man drawings were done by primitive man on the walls of caves. What all did he draw? He drew many things such as sphere, then sphere, trees, humans, birds, deer, etc. Okay, students? So students, you can see on your screen the picture of the caves of Bhimbetka, how the primitive man used natural colors and drew many paintings and colored them. So now we come to the next topic, students, that is discovery of fire and wheel and their uses. As I saw in the previous video, students, people in those ages, that is the primitive man, did not have cooked food. He had raw things to eat, that is raw meat of animals which he hunted, raw fruits, then roots, all these things he ate in the raw form. Cooking was not done because we saw in the previous video fire was not invented. So now we will see the invention of fire, discovery of fire and wheel and their uses. Now, ruins of ashes. Ruins means remains. Ruins of ashes. Ruins of ashes found in the caves of primitive man tell us that fire has been invented by the primitive man and he learned cooking from that invention. It is found in the caves of Kurnool in South India. The first ruins of ashes was found in the caves of Kurnool in South India. Okay. This is the first place where the archaeologists found out the ruins of fire. Which is that place, friends? Kurnool in South India, the caves of Kurnool. Okay. And that indicates, that shows us that these people, the primitive men, were familiar with fire. They had already invented fire. And the historians also say that approximately 11,000 years ago. See students, as per historians, approximate figures are given. Okay, so 11,000 years ago, approximately. What happened? They started using fire for cooking and different purposes. Example, to safeguard the lives from wild animals. That is, when animals see fire, when wild animals see fire, they run away instead of attacking them. Then they used to cook meat on the fire. So different uses of fire began after they invented fire or they discovered fire. And use of fire revolutionized their life because with the help of fire they could cook meat and eat the food in a cooked form. They could get light and protect themselves from wild animals. Protecting themselves from wild animals, we saw in the previous video in which they got attacked while hunting. So that was avoided due to fire. So protection from wild animals. They protected themselves from wild animals from fire with the help of fire. Then the next benefit of discovery of fire was they could eat cooked food, that is cooked meat. Then the third one was to get light. Okay. So they could get light from fire. So because of the discovery of fire, man became a little more advanced. From his primitive stage, he became a little more advanced and started using fire for different purposes. Then other than fire, which is the next discovery, students? Wheel. Now wheel is quite natural, would not have been invented in the way which we see now. The wheels of vehicles, not in that way. The first discovery of wheel was from the tree trunk. Okay, so the first wheel which man made was with the help of tree trunks. Okay. So the first wheel made by the primitive man was with the help of tree trunks. He cut it and shaped it in a circular form, in a round form, and used it as a wheel. And this invention also, that is the discovery of wheel also, revolutionized his life. How it revolutionized? Because he started using it in different purposes. And the wood, that is a tree trunk which he used to be very thick tree trunk, because he has to use it for different purposes. So these two discoveries made by primitive man changed the life of the human beings. In the the ancient ages. Which are those? Fire and wheel. First one was fire, then wheel. So these two discoveries played a very important role in the beginning of a settled life. So students, which is the next topic? Changing environment. What do you mean is changing environment, students, here? It means that about 12,000 years ago, actually students, here we have approximate figures, okay? If we take approximate figures given by historians, about 12,000 years ago, what happened? There was a widespread change in the atmosphere of the whole world because of different reasons, okay? Environmental changes. So what happened? That led to different changes in temperature, vegetation, and due to that grass fields started growing here and there in different places of the world. And when grass fields grow, what happens? The cattle, animals get the grass to eat. So due to that, what happened? Herbivores or animals eating grass, they got a good feed. That is, the cattle got a good feed. So number of grass eating animals, that is herbivores or herbivorous animals, increased. Okay, example, sheep, goat, cow, etc. The list goes on. Okay, so in this way, herbivores, the number of herbivorous animals, grass-eating animals increased, and due to that, what happened? The primitive man got an instinct to keep these animals as his domestic animals. Okay, that is, he kept those animals in his own area, and that is what is known as cattle rearing. Okay, cattle rearing means keeping these animals for his own purposes, to fulfill his own purposes, and due to that, cattle rearing started by primitive man. Due to this, what happened? Cattle rearing was started by primitive man. The other name of cattle rearing is animal husbandry. Yes, friends, what is the other name of cattle rearing? Animal husbandry. Okay, both are same words. Meaning of both words is same. The meaning of both words is same. Animal husbandry or cattle rearing. And then what happens? The primitive man got many benefits from these animals. Okay, how he began to take care of these animals. Then he fed them grass, and then these animals gave him milk. So milk was obtained from these animals by the primitive man. Then what happens? These animals, he also, I told you already, he started the occupation of cattle rearing or animal husbandry. So he began to use some of the animals for farming. For example, oxen. He started to use oxen for farming, for plowing the field. That is, farming also started as his occupation. So we can say that he began to grow grains. So the next occupation which the primitive man started was farming. Okay, he began to grow grains, and for that first had to plow the field. So he took the oxen for that purpose. So we can say that he began to live a settled life gradually. Slowly, he began to develop a great instinct. He began to develop a great instinct towards settled life. So students, as primitive man started farming as an occupation, what did he do? As farming was his main occupation now, he started growing grains. Which all grains, students? He started growing grains like wheat, barley. Then he grew other grains in addition to both of these categories. So we can see that wheat and barley were the main ones, and other than that, we grew many other grains too. So we can see that he grew wheat, barley, and many other grains as such. And due to this, what happened? He began to clear spaces in the forest so that he could cultivate more and more crops. He settled near banks of rivers, that is river banks, and near places where he could find open space in forests for cultivation of crops. That is, he began to clear places for himself so that the primitive man could grow more and more grains. That is, farming was his occupation now, main occupation. Okay. Then what happens? He used stones to collect the grains. Which are the grains he grew? He used stones to collect them. Okay, because tools and implements are not so modernized in those ages. So he used stones to collect them, and then he used to store those grains in big stone pots. Steel and such other things were not invented in those days. So vessels were mud, thatch. So students, what do you mean by thatch? Thatch means hay. Okay. What do you mean by thatch, students? Thatch means hay. That is dry grass. Okay. That was used along with mud and other materials to make small houses. And nomadic life came to an end. We saw in the previous video, he led a nomadic life. So he was known as a hunter and gatherer. Yes, students, you remember that? Yes. So now, from that stage, he has passed on. He has gradually come to the next stage, that is the settled life. His nomadic life came to an end over here. Okay. So we can see that man was not a nomad now. We saw the meaning of nomad. Nomad means a wanderer. His nomadic life came to an end. And he began to live which type of life, students? A settled life. This gave rise to a settled life. Okay. So thus our heading proves true over here. What is the name of the chapter, students? Journey of primitive man from his primitive stages to a settled life. His primitive stage, first stage has entered here. He has come to the next stage. It is the opening stage of a settled life. Okay. So first settlement was occupation of farming, cattle rearing. That is animal husbandry. Okay. We saw both these occupations. And his first animal companion, my first animal friend was the dog. Dog was the first animal companion of human beings. Primitive man kept him as the first. Primitive man kept dog as the first pet animal, domesticated animal. And among other domesticated animals, he had sheep, goat, cow, buffalo, pig, etc. And they also adjusted with the primitive men. These animals also learned how to live with these primitive men. And wild animals could not attack him more now. Why? Because he had started to live in life. He could be inside his house. Instead of caves, he could be inside his house. And he used to cook food with the help of fire. So hunting was limited to a certain extent. He grew grains, so food was also available to him. So what happened? He was at lesser risk of attack from wild animals. So attack from wild animals was now reduced. Okay, attack from wild animals was reduced or very less, you can say. Then what happens? Animal husbandry or cattle rearing and farming became his main occupation. We already saw that. And then he began to go on searching for new methods of how to live a more and more improvised life, a more and more settled life. Till here we saw he started his journey from a primitive stage, from Stone Age and other stages, into a settled life. And with two main occupations, which are they? Animal husbandry or cattle rearing and farming. So now what happens here is research is being still carried out to find out how long he had been using animals to get milk. Why? Because we saw now that animal husbandry is being carried out as an occupation. So milk was obtained from these animals. So research is being carried out by historians to find out how long he had been using these animals to get milk. Okay students, so we come to conclusion of this topic over here. So students, what did we see in this topic? We saw the different places, archaeological places. That is how the archaeologists found out primitive man living in these places, habitat was there in those places, and then how the environmental changes affected the human life. Then the discovery of fire and wind. So these three concepts started this topic. So students, go through page number 7 and 8 of your textbook very carefully. Go through the video thoroughly and read page number 7 and 8. Okay students?